Hi, this is Karen. Welcome back to Angular April, day 2. Today we're going to talk about components and routing. Components are the basic building blocks in Angular, and routing is how we get around our website. I was looking for a good example for in the resource links and couldn't find one, but there are all these great pictures that that kind of show you a picture of what routing is all about. Routing is about how do I get from my main page to my sub pages. When I get to the sub page, which pages can I go to from there? All of these little arrows, that's routing. So if you have a picture in your head of your menu and you're going to click on something in the menu, it's going to bring up a new page. Um, all of these, particularly this first row, are examples of website routing. When you first decide that you're going to create a website instead of a web page, you've got to figure out where are you going to put all the sub pages. And a large part of routing that what we're going to do today is about separating out the components in Angular that make up the different pages. So back in our first project here, what we need to do is get into this app folder, and you can either cd, change directory, to src/app. Oops, if you go into the project first, cd, project 1, src/app. That will put you there. You can also right-click on the folder itself and open a terminal here, Alt-L, which opens a window that is essentially the same thing that we just did down here. So either way, whichever one's easier, if right-clicking is easier, if typing in on the command line is easier, just make sure that you're in the app folder before we start. Otherwise, your components folder is going to go in the wrong place, and if you make a component there and try to move it later, things are going to break. So the most important thing that I've discovered so far working with Angular 2 is don't want to create the components using this command line tool in the wrong place, because they don't move easily and they don't delete easily, and it's really hard to, well, so far it's been easier to start over than to fix it. So try to make sure you're in the right directory before you do this. We are in the right directory for project 1. And so what we're going to do is we're going to generate a few components. The Angular command line interface has a nice command, ng-g, that's short for generate, component, and then whatever you want to name your component. I'm going to make one called About Me, because on my website, on my project 1, my portfolio site, I want to have an About Me page. So you hit enter, it does some magic woo-woo stuff, and all of a sudden we have a folder that says About Me. That is our component. And inside our component we have these 4 files. And there are some other things that they've done too as well. In the app module, you'll see all of a sudden there's a line here that says import About Me. And that's why it's so hard to move things around later, because this has, if you drop and drag your folder, this does not change. So some of these other little wiring up the components to work, that will break if you have to move it later. That's why you want to make sure you're in the correct folder before you start. And that is basically it for components. So we're going to just really quickly make some components for the rest of this site. To push the up arrow and then change the About Me to my portfolio. Oops, I'll put a space there. And that goes quickly. And then we're going to do a Contact Me. Again, the up arrow. Just delete back past the My Portfolio part. Maybe not that far. And do the Contact Me. Up arrow. You can type. I don't know whether it's better to backspace or type. It's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, I think. We're also going to have a to-do list. And this is something that we're going to be building later when we get to the services. So any pages you want, whether you want to do the About Me, portfolio, contact stuff, you can name them differently if you like. But do have something for to-dos. contacts and calendar on this personal project. Those are the three parts that we're going to be working on later that you're going to want to have for sure. To-do list and my contacts. Begin with a space. My contacts. And my calendar. Okay, so those are the components that I want to have on project one. Not too bad, huh? The next thing that you need to do is go into this app component. This is the main component for your application. And right now, it's not going to do anything different than it has been doing up to this point. We do want to get back out to the main project directory as well. So down here, let's do a cd ///// whoops, 2 dots and a slash. Okay, so now in the project, we can go ahead and run the project. npm start. And while that's running, while that's getting ready to serve our page up, let's take a look in here in the app component. We've got a h1 with the title, and we've got this p tag. We want to add some component tags now. And those components are basically the files that we just created. So we're going to put a tag just like you would in HTML. It's going to be app-about me. And then it closes the tag, and that's what we need to do, have a closing tag that matches. The next line, I'm going to do app contact me. And so on for each of our components. To-do list. My contacts. They do have to match. You can't make up a new. Once you decide what you're going to call it, you got to keep calling it the same thing. I'm getting these all out of order. I guess I'm putting them in alphabetical order. Half of me is putting them in alphabetical order, and half of me is not putting them in alphabetical order. Okay, so there's our 4 components. Now when we save this, we should be all compiled and running. To open this up in a, oops, I hate when it does that to me. Go ahead and open this up in a new tab. Here we see from yesterday, eventually, we have an Angular portfolio, and it looks like I've already saved. I have all of these about me works, contact me works. So this is bringing in what's in that component by default. Take a look back here and you look into the about me, for instance, and there is some CSS if you want to create some custom CSS to go with this component. There's an HTML file. You take a look in the HTML file. This is where the about me is coming from. You know, maybe I want to change this and have a header with little h. And instead of about me works, I'm just going to say about me. Kind of like a page title. And I'll save that. Watch in the background. Should refresh. I feel like I broke it. No, I didn't. Okay, and then you can see this is what we've changed the about me to be. So you can change any of these components to show whatever you want it to show. Like I said, if you have ideas for what you actually want this website to be, you can put your notes there. You can, write it out. You can go grab some lorem ipsum and put in for your component just as placeholder. Now that we've got the components done, we're ready to start routing for those components. I'm going to stick to just project 1 today so that you can see how this is done in the video, and then let you do 2, 3, and 4 on your own. We will be looking at each project over the next 4 days a little bit closer, doing some subcomponents and stuff. So if you don't get to all of them, it's okay. We'll kind of catch up later. I do want to try to keep the videos short so that it's not too much time, because I know people are busy with other things, and I want to make it possible to keep up and do this in a month. So, routing. To begin with, we need to import the router, and that is going to happen in the module TS. So that's down in the source folder at the very bottom, module.app.module.ts, and it has all these import statements in here. We're going to put this, you see all the components that you have just made. These are all new import statements because of what we were doing with the command line interface. And we're going to open up another line here, and we're going to type in import and a curly bracket, space, router, capital M-O-D-U-L-E, module. Router module from, and this is going to be at Angular router. So you see everything at Angular kind of comes in here as part of you've got the core and the form, and this is, I believe, in the node modules. So you're actually kind of pointing to this at Angular folder here. And then the at Angular folder, you see all the different subfolders. So this is kind of a location, but the at Angular, so you don't have to actually say the whole path. Oops. And if you click in the window, it types better. Okay, so we're telling it to get the information from the module in that folder. And then down here in these imports, in this section where you have imports, we're going to add a new one. And that's going to take a comma, open up another line. And again, what it is just going to be whatever we called it up here. Copy that. And we paste it down here in the imports. And that way you don't have to watch me misspell it. Now, for this one, we also need a dot for root. And in the parentheses, we are going to have an array. That's going to square brackets, and open up those square brackets. And on this line in between, we're going to put an array of paths. So the paths go in curly brackets, and inside the curly brackets we want to have the word path, a colon, and then in quotes what you want to call this route. So when you look at your address bar up here, you can see this has a slash Freeman-Smith slash Angular April. So this is the route right here. So what goes after this slash, like for instance this project I called it Angular April, that's the route. So what we want to put in here, for instance About Me, for the About Me page, is whatever I want to have show up after that slash. I called my component About Me. I can call my route just About without the dash me. And I think that probably is going to look better, so I'm going to put that there. And then we have a comma and component. So these are key value pairs. The key is path, the value is about, the component is the path, and then we want to take whatever we named our About Me component up here. You want the spelling to match. Again, I'm going to copy from the component up there, and I'm going to just paste it down here. And this does not need to be in parentheses. Okay, so that is one path, and I have a bunch of them. You need to have a comma in between paths. The last path does not need a comma, but the other paths do. Even that up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this here to speed things up a little bit. And I think I had 7. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7. And let's see what they were. I think 6. Okay, so there's about me, there's my portfolio. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to replace these paths, or these components, with the components that I actually have brought in up here. I'm going to make my list of paths. Contact me, to-do list, my contacts, like address book, my calendar components. I guess I could be copying them from here and then I would have to scroll. Main thing is just to be consistent on the spelling. That's one of the worst places for me personally with the typos and stuff and finding out what went wrong. Okay, so I have an about, I have a portfolio, I have contact me, that'll just be contact, to-do list, I'm going to call to-do, contacts, I have a contact, I have contacts, I'm going to call this address book. And then calendar. Okay, so that should take care of setting up the routing in that file. And the next thing we need to do is go back to our main component, main HTML component. And we're going to be changing this just a little bit. So instead of having this list of each of our components show up on our main page, because these are actually intended to be different pages, we're going to make these links. And when you click on a link, it's going to bring in this component. It's going to bring it in this tag right here, router outlet. Okay, so just this router outlet right here will bring in whatever that component used to be. So you can put a whole page worth of HTML in this My Portfolio and it'll show up right here when you click the link. What we need to do to link these is pretty much this, very similar to a regular link. So this is about me. We're going to do an A tag. And instead of href, we're going to use router link. So it's a little L, or a little R and a capital L. Router link equals, and then in quotes we have a slash and your path. So this would be about, and then whatever you want to put as your label for your link. Okay, so we're going to change this router link, replace each of our components with another link. We'll just update to the things we're going to build. Paste that in. Okay, so we're going to have about me, we're going to have a portfolio. And just update these links just like this. There's contact. To do. And basically you just have to remember what you called it in the other file. So this one I got all creative and decided to be address book. I want to make sure that this matches what I put over here. Except this does not need the slash and this does need the slash. And finally, calendar. Make sure my tags match. And here I might want to be more cutesy and go ahead and put the my to-dos. Okay, so we have some links. We have the router outlet. Let's save it and take a look at what we've done. I'm going to refresh automatically or not. And there we are. This is our new page with routing. You see we have the same stuff up top, but instead of a list, we have these links. And when we click on the link, it actually brings up what's in there and puts it where the router outlet goes. So now as we fill out these pages, we'll actually have what appears to be a multi-page website. It's coming up on a single page, and it actually gets downloaded to the browser as a single page. So all of this waiting, all of this overhead is starting to pay off a little bit now, because when our users go to the page, when the visitors come to the page, they're not going to have to wait when you click on my address for it to go back to the server and bring a page down. It's all right here, and they click on it. It's going to be very responsive once the page loads. So we have just shifted the waiting time from the user experience to the developer experience. It helps a little bit maybe to be patient while you're waiting for it to compile. Definitely want to build out these pages a little bit and put this routing and the pages on the other 3 projects. So tomorrow we're going to take a closer look at each of the projects and work on some subcomponents, things like my calendar, where we may want to have weeks and days, as well as on the, well, we're going to format some contact information where we may have a list of contacts and in one component, and a second subcomponent that actually has the screen that shows the contact. We're going to have a to-do list similar. You know, we can have a list of to-dos that repeats the to-dos and lets us say whether we've done it or not done it yet. And then just some standard pages. So on these standard pages, feel free to go ahead and, especially on those, I'm probably not going to show anything on the video, so build those out yourself, make them look nice, and go back over here. If you need to, just rewatch the video to figure out the routing and the components. It's pretty easy. I think after repeating it on this one, I feel like probably most people have a pretty good idea of what we're doing. You can watch the video a second time to do page 2. I'm going to put a list on the website of the pages that I decided to put components and routing for, and a little star on the ones that we'll be building out in the later days, so that you know which ones you should probably be sure to include, and then be creative on the rest of them, whatever you want to do. And I guess that wraps it up for day 2. I'm trying, like I said, keep these a little bit shorter so that you can spend most of your time playing around instead of watching me play around. And I will see you tomorrow on day 3. We'll take a deeper look at this project 1 and the subcomponents on the to-do, address, and calendar. See you there.